Awusangena thina emavulandlela kuphina kuphi emakhaya emabhasini edibhedlela etitolo emadolobheni nasekomplasta khona kuphika nakuphi nalapho ubukele khona lihlelo lakho. This is your right, Yilungelo Lakho. Sakumukela ke mbukeli. Hello and welcome to today's show. Asikashiji sakulethela ke lona ke bukhoma lapha emsakadweni uhamba embili SABC1 Mzansi for sure. Mina ke ngiSimphiwe Ngcongwane. Nawe ke mbukeli lomhle ungavakalisa umbono wakho ngesihloko sanamuhla ngekusishayela ucingo ku-011 714 6918 noma ke ku-011 714 6919. You can also contribute by sending an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Also catch us on Facebook and Twitter. Ngiphinza sinamukele futhi ehlelweni kanzi ke leli Yilungelo Lakho. All right, now the mere mention of the word sheriff of the court is enough to make one lose their sleep. Consumers who have lost their goods to a sheriff's auction know this all too well. Now, the sheriff's visit often signals a pending attachment of one's assets for possible sale in a public auction in order to settle your debt. But before you think of a sheriff as a monster, it is very important to understand their role, how you can use it to your advantage. Asike sive nambukela ukuthi sekwende njani ke uma sheriff sekanqonqotha emnyango wakho kanzi ke futhi ngwaphi emalungelo lonawo esimeni lesifana nalesi. Asike sibuke nambuyiko.
Awukhonto siyithanda ukuncamisayo kwedlula ukungena siphuma izivenkeleni sithenga oni noni. Akukhathaliseki nokuba imali ithi data kuwe okanye uhleli ebunzimeni. Osomashishini bavela kubona ungene ngaphakathi nalapho uza kuthi xa uphuma igama lakho libe libhalwe ezincwadini zamatyala. I-National Credit Regulator iqikelela malunga ne-35 billion yeerandi ethi ibolekwe ngabantu qho ngenyanga. Kule meko ayingabonke abantu bakwaziyo ukumelana namatyala abo. Intlungu yokuba abanini bashishini baphelelwa ngumonde wokulinda bona bafuna intlawulo yamatyala apha nokuba umntu uyifumene njani na. Abathengi abaninzi bafuna ubunzima kakhulu kwesi sigaba. Onemali uthi abhatale ukanti abanye suke bangahoyi bayiphose lokulibala. Kulapho ke bambi benza eyona mpazamo.
500, 525, 550, 575, 600 and 25.
Xa kunjalo ukuthi ungene unothimba isheriff ngolasemzini. Lo ngumntu oligosa lithunywe inkundla ofika kwakho engabizwanga xa uthe watyeshela kubhatala amatyala akho. Njengepolisa lizungula isikrelemnqa unothimba uleqa umntu ohluleka nongafuni ukubhatala ityala.
When the sheriff knocks at your door, probably there's something in your life that you supposed to have done you didn't do. For example, you might have received a summons demanding that you pay a debt and you ignored the summons, and because you ignored the summons, the judgment creditor proceeded to go to court and to have a court order against you to collect the money or whatever is owed from you.
Kodwa abathathwe nguthi qi bavela xa amalinge ukuqoqa imali ngembeko athe azalela endle. Ngoku ithemba selibeke enkundleni yamatyala nalapho kulindele ukuba umthetho ulandele ngokuzityela itheko. Ngoku sengathanswa kuwe kuba walile ukuthathela ingqalelo ukubaleka kokuqoqa kwetyala inkundla. Xa inkundla ngoku ifika kwakho iza seyinegama limbi elaziwa njenge-sheriff. Ule phandi uthi kukho impazamo ebona unothimba njengabantu abangenantliziyo ngenxa yoko badiwana neentshaba mihla le.
Some of them become very aggressive and they might not even allow a sheriff to enter the premises. And in those instances, the law empowers the sheriff to get forced entry.
Ubandlongondlongo nonothimba impazamo enkulu utsho ule phandi. Ifana nempazamo yenziwa ngumntu ofihla impahla zakhe kunothimba kuba ebaleka uthinjelwa. Ule phandi uthi ngokwenza oko uzibizela ingxaki engaphezulu kwetyala elo ujongene nalo kuba ungatshutshiswa kanobomi ngokwenza obo buqhophololo.
I got 20 rand, can't believe, 40 rand, 60. 80, 100.
xa kuthengiswa impahla efandesini oonothimba benza oko ngokwemiyalelo yenkundla bekwenza oko esidlangalaleni. Kodwa into engahlali kakuhle yokuba impahla ithengiswa ngexabiso eliphantsi kakhulu.
Usually the prices that an auction fetches will not be market-related prices. And that's why, because it's a forced sale, that's why you will not be able to fetch market prices.
Xa unethamsanqa impahla ithengwa ngemali elingana netyala elo, maxa wambi kuthinjwe nkqu nendlu yakho. Ukuba imali yenziweyo ayaneli, loo nto ithi ityala eliseleyo lisalindele kwa wena. Ukukhawulelana nale meko la mazwi ayakunceda.
When you receive any court process, don't ignore it. Do something about it. If you don't understand it, go to legal aid, go to somebody, a friend or somebody that you know that can understand and inform you exactly what it's all about. If a sheriff leaves a summons on your door or leaves a message, ensure that you follow through and inquire what it's all about so that you know what action you must take to avoid problems coming up in the future.
Uvuyisile mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Ya ngiyathemba ke sentivele babukeli sibonga kakhulu ke umbiko lesithulelwa iproducer yethu Uvuyisile mdoda. Njengenjwayelo ke mbukeli sinedvakashi litasisita ekudzingitseni lenzaba yanamhla. Simukele ke Shirley Thoke, sheriff of the court, kanye ke na Elias Shamatla, a consumer activist, as well as credit ombudsman Nicky, Lala, Mohan. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start with you, Shirley. First of all, asosichazela abantu ukuthi yini lo sheriff and yini umsebenzi wakhe. What is the role of the sheriff?
A sheriff is an officer of court. And a sheriff is appointed to execute court orders, to execute court orders such as summonses, subpoenas. So, and then a sheriff is an independent contractor. A sheriff does not work for the state, but run a business for her own account.
Okay. Does the sheriff execute the mandate, or does he appoint deputy sheriffs?
Well, a sheriff can execute the mandate herself or himself and can be assisted by deputy sheriffs.
Okay. All right. Now, Elias, at what point do sheriffs come into the picture and why?
If we are in default as consumers and the credit providers have discharged their legal processes, meaning they have sent us the SMSs, sent us the Section 129 letters, which are the letters of demand, then they discharge sheriff with the summons to come and serve us with summons. And we are given an opportunity to go to court and defend that summons if we have to.
And how are sheriffs appointed?
Well, they get appointed by the court to go and deliver the summons. And after the summons as well, when it comes to the attachment stage, the sheriff again comes to attach our assets, such as movables, furniture, or the vehicle. Yes.
All right. Now, Nicky, are consumers aware of the detrimental effects allowing the sheriff to come into the picture?
Simply, good afternoon and afternoon to the viewers. No, not really. The honest truth is no, they don't know their rights. But the point is, and as my two colleagues were saying earlier, by the time you get to the sheriff, there's the entire process that you've gone through. A process where you've been notified that you have a debt outstanding, that debt is due and payable. They've got to do a Section 129 letter to tell you that you have certain rights. One of the rights is that you can go to a debt counselor, you can go to an ombudsman like us for help, but that's the first letter that starts with the legal process. You are given a certain amount of time, 20 days, to do something about it. If you fail to do so, then a summons is issued against you. Again, when you receive the summons, you have rights. You've got a time period to do something about it. Problem is that most people do nothing about it. And that's when a default judgment is then entered into. Only when a judgment is granted can an execution take place, because when a judgment is granted, the credit grantor has various options. The last resort is execution of immovable property or movable property. Now, movable property like a car will be executed because a car is an asset with depreciating value. The problem is that most people don't know their rights. The process has gone too far down the line.
Sure.
In terms of, because when the sheriff comes to execute, it's the last resort, and it's quite serious at that point in time. So people leave things hoping that it'll go away, but it doesn't go away. And then you're faced with the sheriff at your door to attach your goods. And then people don't know what to do then.
All right. Are you going to weigh in on that? I mean, what is it that the consumers need to do in order to avoid a situation like this?
Yeah, like it has already been mentioned here, consumers must stand up and do something. If you know that you are in default, rather call your credit provider and make an arrangement. If they refuse to conclude an arrangement with you, contact the likes of the Ombudsman, go to the debt counselor, go to the mediators or alternative dispute resolution agents. You can go to the consumer court. You have got lots of avenues before the credit provider can execute his mandate. And again, remember, it becomes worse when the sheriff advertises your property, that she is going to auction your property on such and such a day. Sometimes you may find that it's too late to come and stop that auction. And that's why you find that consumers are blaming the sheriff as if it is the sheriff that is selling. Actually, it's the credit provider that instructed the sheriff to sell.
Indeed, indeed. And people end up shooting the messenger. And have you had such incidences as being received with hostility?
In most instances, when you knock at consumers' premises, you have been accused as if you are the party to their transactions. And they forget that as a sheriff, you only execute an order of court.
Yeah.
But even at that late stage, if a sheriff knocks at your place, the sheriff will explain to you the processes that you still need to follow to avoid the selling of your property. You can still defend that matter or make an arrangement with the instructing attorneys so that your property cannot be attached and removed. Even when we attach your property, there's still some time where you can still make arrangements. So consumers have a lot of time where they can save their property, because a sheriff cannot continue selling a property if maybe 5 minutes to the auction, an arrangement has been concluded between the consumer and the bank.
Yeah.
We stop selling those properties. So the consumers have still a lot of time to save the property.
Okay, so ma-sheriff wona operator kanjani? Is there a particular code of conduct that they adhere to?
Yes, as a sheriff, we have a code of conduct to regulate the manner in which we execute our duties. Remember, we are in a constitutional democracy, so people have rights. We have to respect them and protect those rights.
Yeah.
And we have to inform the person about your visit, what the rights of that person, so that this person should know exactly what's in it for him.
Just a general overview, sheriff. Sheriff. Why is that so?
I think it's lack of awareness of the role of the sheriff. Because people think that maybe the sheriff work with the bank or the sheriff work with the lawyer. A sheriff is an independent person. And there are certain things which the sheriff cannot stop.
Yeah.
Because I get an instruction, I get a court order. If I don't execute that court order, I'll be in breach of my duties. So my role is to go and just execute that court order. So people don't understand that they have initially entered into a contract with the bank or other party. And they would have been given a letter of demand. They would have known about that debt, but they don't do anything. Yeah. Like the guests who already indicated that they think that that debt will go away by ignoring it. So
it doesn't.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
And it doesn't.
So a sheriff will come at the end of the whole process.
Yeah. And having said that, Nicky, what are some of the practices that impact negatively on consumers when they finally reach that point of attachment?
No, look, when you're at that stage, it's, you're really in trouble. But it's not the end of it. You can still make an arrangement, like Shirley has pointed out, to pay off. Without, there could be the attachment of the house. But if you go to the creditor and make adequate arrangements, they will stay that execution, provided you keep up with your part of the bargain.
Sure.
One of the things that we find in our office is oftentimes miscommunication. We've, stayed sales and execution at the last minute. And that's simply because the credit grantor is not communicating with the sheriff that a payment arrangement has been made or this person is under debt review. And so, we have to then at the last minute get the credit provider to call the sheriff to stop the... If there was proper communication throughout the process, that wouldn't have happened. So it's miscommunication that leads to this. But oftentimes, it's consumers that do nothing about this, and they find themselves in this dire situation. It's dire at that stage if you do nothing, but there is hope that you can still fix it at that last stage.
There is hope. You can fix this mess that you probably might find yourself into. Asasibambe lapho kwanyalo sike shwi ngasethi market esona semandi siyabuya khona manje ungenzawo. Siyakumukela ke futhi mbukeli sichubeka ke ngenkulumo mpikiswano yethu namhla lephathelene nemsebenzi wa sheriff. Nawe ke mbukeli lo mhle ungavakalisa umbono wakho ngesihloko sanamhla ngekusishayela ku 011 714 6918 noma ke ku 011 714 6919. You can also contribute by sending an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. You can also catch us on Facebook and Twitter. Siyachubeka ngale nkulumo mpikiswano yethu ngenzaba bo sheriff. Shoke ngidaphinza ngibuyele kuwe kuthi how do I know if lo muntu lo emnyango wami sheriff?
How do you know that a person's coming is a sheriff?
Yeah, how do I certain ukuthi vele lo muntu lo unguye lo sheriff?
When I knock at your door, I have to identify myself and show you my identity document as a sheriff. That's the first thing that I need to provide to you, so that you know that I'm a sheriff. And then in that card, it's indicated that I have jurisdiction to work in that area. Remember, sheriffs are appointed for a particular jurisdiction. So a sheriff working in Gauteng cannot go and attach into
Western Cape.
So I have to show you that identification card and indicating that I am appointed for that area.
Okay, apart from the identification card, what else do you produce? To carry out this mandate?
Well, that's I have to produce that identification card, and then also I'll be having the document. If I have to serve you...
What document is that?
Like if it's a summons, if it's a writ of execution, I have to show you an original of the summons.
Okay.
And to show you that it has been properly issued by the court. So that this is the document that I'm going to save, and then I'll give you a copy of the document.
Okay, so kubalulekile ukuthi utekimi physically, or can you send the documents via post?
Well, there are different types of service. There is service by post, and I can come, affix the summons at your gate or at your door, and then I can serve the summons on a person older than 16 years, even if you're not at home. So that depending on the type of summons. But if it's a divorce, I have to do personal service.
So ungafika nje kami unannounced?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, logo, I think it touches on my rights, on my right to dignity, and I'm going to ask you, Nicky, let's talk about the rights. What rights do I have as a consumer being served by a sheriff?
Well, you have the right to be informed as to, firstly, correctly so, the identification right. You have the right to know what documentation is being served upon you. There is a duty on the sheriff to tell you that this is a summons for the outstanding payment of your house or your car, and you may contact the attorney involved here and make arrangements. You may defend the matter if you can. So all your rights must be explained to you. Now, you asked an important question as to you arrive unannounced. The truth of the matter is that if you tell them you're coming, they're going to run away. So it's, because they're afraid. It's a fear thing, and it's not an issue to be fearful. I think it's important, Simpiwe, that when it comes to credit grantors and banks, it's a last resort. They don't want to attach your property. They don't want to take your car away. It's because they find themselves in that situation where you've not cooperated in terms of any repayment agreement. You've just dug your head in the sand. You've ignored all their requests. They've sent SMSs. That's when they become difficult, because you're not playing ball. So the only way that I can get you to make some effort to repay is to bring the sheriff there, is to attach your house. That's when you're going to jump.
What rights do the sheriffs have then?
The sheriff The sheriff is a messenger of the court appointed by the minister. He acts as what the court asks him to do, or she. He execute a court order. All they're doing is they acting in terms of what the court is ordering them to do.
Okay.
So there's both sides that need to be balanced. But the important thing is that people don't need to be afraid of the sheriff.
Yeah.
If they're coming to serve a summons, do something about it. Don't just put it away.
So, Nicky, I understand that if I've paid about 2/3 of the debt, then the sheriff cannot attach any of my property. Is there a law that provides for this?
No, there's some important developments that is taking place in the law. There's been an abuse of execution against immovable property for small debt. It came about a couple of years ago where there was an attorney somewhere in the Eastern Cape. A pensioner owed about 800 rand, and to sell that, to satisfy that debt, they wanted to sell her RDP house. They sold the RDP house for 800 rand debt. There was total abuse. Over the years, courts have brought in what they call judicial oversight. Now, you can't just get an execution against immovable property. You've got to go to court, show cause just and equitable as to why this property should be attached. You've got to provide documentation as to what is the market value of that property. You've got to provide documentation as to certificate of balance. The court may set a reserve price, may.
Okay.
We're moving and we're asking that it must set a reserve price.
Okay.
That's when you get that abuse, taken away. Okay. But the important point about, if there's 2/3 of the amount that you've paid up, the court will say, but it's not just and equitable for me to grant an order to execute this property because you've come so far. Let's get into some arrangement to repay the balance. So it's not yet enforced. There's a lot of changes that are coming through the rules board.
Sure.
But the point about what you're raising is that there must be judicial oversight. The court must be convinced that this sale and execution is in the interest of
I'm
all
afraid I'm
parties.
going to have to interrupt you there before we go into an air break. But before sichubeke siya ekefini, Elias, akusithi fahla nje about some of the cases that you've come across, maybe the case study, if you will.
Okay, what we have seen is that most of the consumers do not know about their rights. When coming to the vehicles are an easy target. For example, the banks will dispatch their own debt collectors to go and repossess the vehicles. And the consumers do not know that actually they can refuse to hand over the vehicle. Only the sheriff can repossess the vehicle. Because you as a consumer, if you surrender that vehicle, it's a voluntary surrender. You have terminated the contract yourself.
Right.
Yes. And again, on top of that, in terms of valuation, fortunately we have got our beautiful lady here as the sheriff. Some of the sheriffs are old men. And this old man comes into your house, he doesn't know the value of Russell Hobbs kettle or microwave. He values that at 20 rand, 50 rand.
Indeed.
When now you have got the Yamaha sound system, he values it at 200 rand.
Yeah.
That brings dissatisfaction amongst the consumers because you think you have paid 15,000 rand for this sound system, and then he comes and says, okay, it's 200 rand.
All right. Let us now discuss about the value, like who determines the value of the products. But then we're going to discuss that after the break. For now, though, we'll take a short break. But before we go on, let me share with you a couple of tips. Tip number 1, ask for the sheriff's ID, bearing the logo of the South African Board of Sheriffs, and do not let them onto your property if they don't produce such. I repeat, do not let them on the property. You have the right to chase them away. Ayi ngathi ifuna kuba madima lenza aba sheriff asesize egwinya imathi sitawuphinda sibuye khona manje kanzi leli lilungelo lakho. Sakumukela futhi mbukeli tivakashi tetfu tikhonela wena ukuthi ubute umbuto noma ke ubeke umbono. Inombolo tetfu setivuliwe ngu-011 714 6918 noma ke ku-011 714 6911. The numbers are on the screens right now. You can also send us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Phindze sibe khona ke ku-Facebook na ku-Twitter. Sithinze kungaze kuphele isikhathi. Kanzi ke elayinini sina Anonymous akasitsheli igama lakhe, sina Anonymous lapha eSocial Nguve. Sakumukela, sawubona.
Hi, how are you?
Ninjani, ma'am?
I'm all right, and you?
I'm all right. What's on your mind? How can our guest help you?
I need to pose a question to the lady,
Uh-huh.
the one who accepted the sheriff.
Yes.
I have a problem. Our sheriff here, we don't have a sheriff in Soshanguve. He is based in Mabapani. My practice is in Soshanguve.
Yeah.
I have to drive for more than 25 kilometers to go to the sheriff's office. So the issue of jurisdiction is a problem. At the same time, the same sheriff who is supposed to be the sheriff for Soshanguve serves documents in Hammanskraal as well. So I just want to know, what does it take to be a sheriff? Why can't they appoint another sheriff this side? And I just don't understand. And another thing regarding the service of the summons on the chosen domicilium, it normally happens where the defendant entered into a contract and then the address is the one on the contract. The return would say the sheriff served at the chosen domicilium by affixing at the gate. I have clients, like numerous clients, who say they never received the summons. But the return comes back saying it was affixed at the gate. So you find that you end up being sequestrated unaware, because once you don't find the summons, they proceed with the return and they do everything via the newspaper. Like she said, they can only serve you personally with the divorces and sequestration. She did not mention the part of sequestration, but I know it's just the two things that they must serve you personally.
All right.
So most of people get sequestrated unaware because of this sheriff of domicilia.
All right,
Like,
Anonymous, I think
yeah.
we've got the point, and we'll ask our guests to address your concern. But then thank you so much for your time. Shirley, how do you address the viewer?
I think the first question was
Jurisdiction, yeah,
accessibility of sheriffs.
Yeah.
Well, a sheriff is appointed for a particular area, and then an area might consist of different suburbs. And you may find that a sheriff's office is situated in another suburb. And I know that we have to try by all means to be accessible to the communities that we serve, to avoid people traveling to our offices and spending a lot of money. Well, it's something that we have to look at it, something like where we can also open a mobile clinic, where we make arrangement that maybe a sheriff will be at a particular area on the specific days to come maybe and collect some documents. But it's something that we have to do. And then I think the second question was about the manner of service where a summons is left at the gate. Remember, when you enter into a contract, they ask you, what's your address? You'll mention that address, and some people will move from that area.
Yeah.
So when a summons is issued, the very same address that you used is where a sheriff is supposed to go. Like I said earlier, it depends on the type of summons. If it's a divorce, you have to do personal service. But maybe if you've bought a house and you've moved to another suburb, the bank only have that address. So we have to serve at that address that you gave to the bank.
So, kuba responsibility yabani if the documents have been served to a wrong address, or in this instance, when I've moved.
Well, that is why you have to update your address when you move, so that you must notify your creditors that I have moved.
And then in instances where the sheriff, they serve it to a very wrong address and it doesn't reach me.
Well, I can't remember. I'm trying to imagine a situation where a sheriff has served at the wrong address.
Actually,
Remember, a sheriff is given instruction and the address is written on the summons.
Okay, Elias, do you want to weigh in on this?
Actually, when the consumer is staying in a complex, for example, number 24 President House in Market Street, and then the grid provider instructs the sheriff to go and serve the summons as number 24 Market Street, not at President House. President House is a complex. So now they go to a different property. We have got a case like that now, whereby the consumer is defending in the High Court because the sheriff served the summons at the wrong address.
Oh,
it does happen.
But if I can chip in there,
Yeah.
Let's say you get an address, say that 24, and it's in a complex. Sometimes we return the document, the instructing attorney say that, please give us the unit number because this is a complex.
Okay, hold your thoughts. Let's take a look at some of the Facebook messages that have been coming through. We've got Unati Khudbum. Utsi Enage, this is unfair by the sheriffs. You bought this thing for thousands of rands, but they are sold on small amounts. Aha, it now takes us back to the issue of who determines the value of the goods attached. Then Kutalo Stanop says, after you get a summon from the court and you ignore them, when can a sheriff come? After how many days? So Maxwell from Ural, Utsiena, if you have a debt consolidation, what must you do if you're not responsible for the debt in terms of paying for the account? And Msesi Gamete says they don't have the right to take away your stuff. They must be persistent until you pay them what you owe. Nicky, how do you respond to this?
In regard to the issue of the valuations, a couple of categories of valuations. You have valuations of movable and immovable property. Movable property is your TV, your hi-fi, your sofa set, etc., your couch, etc., including a motor vehicle. Immovable property is a house. Correctly so, when a sheriff comes up to write up and execute against movables, they put a value, what they think is the value of their TV. And there was comments here that some of the elder sheriffs are not in tune with the new products and how expensive they are. But the point is that, you know, if you buy a TV and if it's there for a year or two, it has depreciated in value.
Sure.
It's not the same price as a new TV. So in that regard, there's an arbitrary figure that's put out by the sheriff, but you have the right to contest that. You know, but the point about it, the fairness comes in. What's the point about writing up?
How about the market value of the product?
It's because it's going to be sold at an auction. Okay. So the person that attends an auction wants to pay the least for the property.
All right.
That's why you don't get that value out. But just before we leave, an important one is that when it comes to immovable property, we're moving towards market value. So there is, you know what the market value of this property is. You know, it's not where it's sold for an arbitrary amount of 1,000 rand, which creates a reserve price. So if you have a bond for R1 million and you owe 500,000, but the market value of that house is 800,000, they've got to take into account the 800,000 as a reserve price. So there's some benchmark.
Okay.
And also in a vehicle, because you know what's the value of a car.
Right. Do hold your thoughts. We must take this break. Impela lo sheriff akadlali ke uma ungabhadali kunet. Asake sike siyokhokha intsela sitawubuya khona manje. And before I go on, let me give you yet another tip. Demand a copy of the writ of attachment or execution from the sheriff. Take a good look at it and make sure that it is what the sheriff says it is. And look for anything out of the ordinary, that is incorrect dates or pages haven't been signed, etc., etc. And make sure that you are satisfied with what you're signing. Let's now take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Yilungelo Lakho, Mzansi's #1 consumer shows. Khasi ke sesidliwe yinja mbukele ke. Uma ke ungakasithinzi phakamisa ucingo njengomanje. Dinombolo tetfu solo tsavulekile 011 714 6918 noma ke 011 714 6919. You can also contribute by sending us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. We've got a caller on the line, Mandisa from Skokstad. A very good afternoon to you, Mandisa. Mandisa, usekhona?
Ikhona.
Kunjani mama?
Siphilile njani?
Siyaphila. Singakusita ngani namhla?
I-problem yami i-certain one of the family member ibe ne-problem. Sometime on the 9th of January this year 2017 kwavele kwathi abantu ababini bathi bavela kwa-sheriff sebesithi-ke bazothimba yonke impahla yakhe. What is the problem? Lo umuntu is only a driving school. Then after that, some year earlier, kwenzeka i-accident. Njengoba enemoto ezinantsikayo eze-driving school, wachayiswa imoto yomuntu lapho i-client ekade iyo-testa. Then ngihamba ngimethayiswe emapoliseni. The owner of the car le eyenzakala wenza quotations kwathiwa makabhatale ke through igqwetha wabhatala ke wayiseklisha yonke lo nantsika lo problem yakhe. Then this year lento ndicinga uba yayenzeke 3 years back. This year usezofumana inantsika into evela kwa-sheriff. In fact beza abantu physical bathi bazothatha izinto bazothimba kanje only to find ba xa iseyilandelela le into kucace ukuba kufuneka ahirishe igqwetha phaya kule first statement uappearisha uba he only paid i-10,000 out of i-44,000 okufanele uba ayibhatale. Then asiyazi ke le nenye imali ba iye yathini. Fortunately he had all inantsika i-document as i-evidence awayekade ebhatale ngayo ezinye besides le 10,000 appearishayo yona phaa kwinantsika kula sheriff document abebeze nayo. Then kufuneke uba ahirishe igqwetha lomdefender ke kuloo nto leyo only to find uba yonke le mali awayibhatala yaphelela kwelaa gqwetha lalihayarishwe ngulaa mntu. And at the same time inantsika i-summons ababezinantsika bayaziseva kuye baziseva at a wrong place. Yet yena azange amuve i-address yakhe injalo azange itshintshe nto. Ngoku he had to hire inantsika igqwetha uba liyomdefender because kwase kutshiwo nje kuthiwa he only left with few days uba kuzorepossesswa impahla yakhe.
Alright, Mandisa siyabonga kakhulu kusishayela. Sathemba tinintetho titakusita namhla. Alright, lady, gentlemen, do you want to weigh in on this? Elias, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, well, in the case like this, what happens is that she has got the son has got issues with the lawyers.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones that instituted a legal action against this person.
Oh, okay.
Whose property is being attached. So I think it's better to take that on offline. If she can call us after this, or if the producer can give me the number, and then we can sort it offline.
All right, how can they get hold of you?
Our number, I'm sure it appears on the screen.
Yeah.
011
011
074
074
6830.
6830.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
All right. Asesithi-ke sheriff soyafika-ke. Soyafika yanginconcothela ngiyamvulela producer onke lama documents and ngiyawabuka and ngiyabona ukuthi they satisfy every requirement by the South African Board of Sheriffs. And then who determines ukuthi you need to take this item, you need to take that item, and mina-ke as a consumer or as a data ngasho ukuthi yekele le TV yami thatha nayi 3/4 yembhethe.
Okay. Ha sheriff ifihla ufihla ka rate ena le amount e tshwantse o e patele. So sheriff o tlo o botsa ore pointa di properties tse ke tshwantse ke di attach. And then if wena consumer o sa di point out, sheriff o tsama a di identifiela. Mara go na le diphatlho tse leng gore sheriff ha tshwana go di tseya. Like bete le dilwana tsa bete le dijo le furniture e sa fete 2,000 sheriff ha tshwana go di tseya.
Okay.
So ha gona re sheriff o tla tsaya diphatlho tsa go tsotlhe o lebela gore mo summonseng e ya teng o kolota bokae. Let's say summons sa gago o kolota 10,000. Sheriff o try go tseya dilo tse leng gore ga di rekisiwa di kgona go satisfy amount e mo rating e seng dilo tsotlhe.
And then what happens then if kune furniture that belongs to a third party, maybe my wife or my flatmate? What happens in that instance?
Okay. In instances where a sheriff attaches property belonging to a third party, the third party involved is supposed to submit an affidavit to the sheriff. And then on receipt of the affidavit, the sheriff will submit that affidavit to the judgment creditor to comment. And if the judgment creditor accepts that affidavit, then the matter falls off. The goods will be returned to the third party. But there are instances where the judgment creditor will be saying, no, I'm not accepting this affidavit. Then there's another process, there's a process that we are going to follow, which we call an interpleader. So that process will allow, the sheriff will prepare documents that will serve before the magistrate who determine who is the rightful owner of those properties.
Okay. Agembugeli, Asesikhokhe intsela kwekugcina ungasanyakati siyabuya khona manje. And before we go on to the break, tip number 3, look out for the total settlement amount on the document, including the attorney fees, the sheriff costs, the interests, etc. Siyabuya khona manje. Welcome back. Sesiyaliqoqoda ke leli hlelo mbukeli lesike sicethu sethu sekugcina siyachubeka nale nkulumo mpikiswano. And before we go on to the discussion, we've got another caller on the line from Firinageng. A very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Dumela ntate guys.
Siyaphila kunjani ma'am?
Ete.
All right. Singakusita kanjani namhlanje?
Ke kopa ho botsa mme sheriff mo.
Yeah, go on.
Mme sheriff ke kamora process ya divorce ne. And then kamora process ya divorce my husband umbaya out of the house. And then onatamile humpa 140,000. He only managed to give me 50,000. So for the whole past year, last 2016, I struggle ali sheriff hore e serve the letter of execution. We servile this year ka January. So ke kopa ho botsa hore na ka morao ba a serve that letter of execution, how long is it going to take hore ho rekiswe whatever ya kgonang ho rekisa hore ke thole tjhelete ya ka kapo mohlomong ho etsuwa jwang ka ntlo? And a responsibility ya sheriff ke etseng ho etsa follow up after that, because
all right, thank you so much for your call, ma'am. All right, thank you so much for your call, and our guest will address your concern. Elias, how do you address that? Yeah.
Mo go ne le tumalano like settlement ya divorce. Ebe monna wa gago a tsa go fe tšhelete ya gago yo otlhe. Wena o tshwanetse o ye ko lawyer like o ile, and then lawyer e go ra gore o go file letter e sheriff e tsere sebaka gore e serve. Ga le gore sheriff o kgonne go serve summons e tswile. Go ne le nako e beilweng. Let's say after processes otlhe e fedile, maybe go attachitswe ntlo eo gore kgone go rekisiwa. Ka letsatsi le sheriff a servileng summons ka teng, o tshwanetse re emele a month gore re bolele all the parties gore re tlo rekisa ntlo eo, and then re fe di lawyer tse tshwanetse di rekise ntlo 20 days gore ba re fe di conditions of sale. So mo go ka ba sebaka sa kgwedi tse pedi gore re kgone go rekisa ntlo eo. Mara ga ile gore bothata ke settlement ya gago le divorce eo ga se tiro ya di sheriff. Wena tshwanetse le bona lawyer ya gago gore a kgone go etsa gore monna wa gago a patele amount e le dumalaneng ka yona.
All right, siyabonga kakhulu ma. Now, Nicky, so say in the event that the sheriff comes to my house and attaches all the goods, but then they still don't satisfy that amount that is required by my creditors. Is there a law that perhaps requires the sheriff to attach money in a bank account or shares, perhaps?
No, there is a law in terms of attaching monies in the bank account, but in most instances, when the sheriff comes to write up, there normally isn't sufficient goods to satisfy that debt.
Okay.
There normally isn't. And when it goes to an auction, you realize even less.
Right.
So what happens is that you're left with a shortfall.
All right.
And you've got to pay that shortfall.
Unfortunately, we haven't got much time. Elias, your final words?
Nkare ho consumers, please, ha le tseba go le kolota, ha re tseng di arrangement di credit providers who avoid go sheriff ya tshakela.
All right. Yes. Elias, Shirley, and Nicky, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Hayi ke mbukeli kuthiwa ke lungapheli kuyahlola. Nathi ke ngalokunjalo sesifike emaphethelweni elihlelo namhla. Let me thank our studio guests for being with us this afternoon on the program. Ngibonge nani babukeli ngekuhlala nathi kuze kube manje. Please join me again next week, same time next week Monday for yet another Consumer Affairs show. Till next time then, bye-bye.